Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's a question and answer time. We're opening to the floor. We have two choices. Either you can pose individual question to each of the speaker, or we'll collect couples of questions and then we'll direct to the speakers. How it goes, but depends on the number of questions from the floor. Can we start? Anyone from the floor? Question, please.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Rizal. I'm from Empower Malaysia. I would like to ask Dato' Yasmin, how would you foresee how civil society can synergize with the government or the open data champions to get quality open data in the future? And then I would like to also ask, I'm so sorry, I don't remember your first name, Ms. Basu. Yeah. Where is the, do you have any gender focal points or in terms of producing open data? Do you get the question? Oh, sorry. How important is gender focal points in getting your open data? Thank you.
Okay, why don't I go first with the first question, which is an easier question, I think. So that's exactly what we want to do by doing this, the third point which I mentioned, which is to bring the government data owners together with, at this point of time, it is with the entrepreneurs, the solution providers. But we also have this concept where we are, and this is taking from the UK experience as well, where everything that government does, especially when it comes to providing digital services, the user feedback, the user survey is very much integral, with whatever they do. So we are trying to promote this collaboration, that whenever government does something, it is about bringing in the user. And in this case, the civil societies can very much be part of the platforms that we are creating. All the hackathons that Mampu is going to create, the first time, government themselves are going to run a hackathon. And I do not want to this fact cannot be underestimated, because there is, to me, it is the first step towards a cultural mindset change. Yeah? Dato', you'll be pleased to know that Mampu has brought on to this concept of hackathon, in which we will bring in the various ministries who owns the data to dialogue with the developers as well as with the citizens, in which the civil societies are representatives of. Okay, so please look out for our hackathons, our big app challenge, which will be coming out in the next month or so, and participate in that. Yeah?
Okay, second question.
Okay, in terms of gender-based focus on open data, on gender focus to open data, I'm not sure we've run the analysis on the open data commitments to see how many of them have a specific gender element to them, but there are specific initiatives that come to mind. One is, I think, in the aid sector, where there is the International Aid Transparency Initiative, which provides a common standard for organizations to report on their aid information. And one of the ongoing conversations there is including a gender element to the results reporting within that framework. In the UK, I think DFID, if I'm not mistaken, under the DFID Gender Act, is required to collect information, again, on its development projects, slice and dice the information on their projects and their results by gender. So I think you're seeing different initiatives across sectors, but I mean, within the OGP support unit or within the OGP set of commitments, we haven't done a specific gender-based analysis yet. But, the field's open, and that might be something to focus on in the future.
Hi, I'm Trisha from Ideas, one of the organizers, so I'm not sure if I should be hogging the mic, but I'd like to ask Antonio, and then perhaps also Dato' Yasmin later. So one of the concerns that especially people from government have is that there will be concerns over privacy and national security. So these are the two things that we always hear when civil society calls for more information to be made available, for more data to be published. Especially in the UK example, you have all the salaries of all the civil servants named as well. I can't imagine that being done here in Malaysia. But perhaps you could address how difficult was that culture mindset change in the UK. How do you convince people that these concerns can actually be addressed and they're not so much of a problem. And perhaps, Dr. Yasmin, do you see that to be a concern in Malaysia? And how is MDEC addressing that? Thank you.
Right, that's an interesting one. First, how you make change? You make change by finding one or two people, which is always the case, that actually are willing to do it and doing it with them. It's always the case. You will find one minister, you will find one department, one agency that is willing to try it. And you start there, and then you use it as an example. Now, one of the things we were talking about were change, behavioral change. National security. Privacy is one thing that it's covered by law in the UK. So we have Data Protection Act, so there are very clear guidelines exactly where's the line, all right? So we don't have much of an issue there. You don't cross that line, pass that line, you're breaching the law. That's simple. National security, that's an interesting one. The more paranoid you are as a state, the more everything becomes national security. The more everything becomes absolute, oh, we couldn't release that, oh God, no. The more open you become, the more intelligent your definition of national security is. Okay, so the true things, the things that are important to national security, some of them will be fixed throughout history, others will change depending on the level of, of tensions that you may be facing as a state. But in general, it will be a subset, a very well-defined subset. We shouldn't go there. The rest ceases to be called that because you've changed the way you think. You're not hugging everything, you're not paranoid, you're opening up. So one of the benefits of this is that you begin to change that. In the UK, we used to have a very complex way of defining things. So it was restricted, then it was, so it was confidential, restricted, confidential, secret, top secret. It just went on and on and on and on. We killed that. We have 3 levels, One is be careful, just use your common sense. You may not want to leave this line, in a coffee shop, but the world doesn't end because you did. Just be responsible. It has private data. Please be careful, hold it, 2nd level. Or 3rd level, this is top secret. You just, do everything you need to do to protect it. In principle. So, red, yellow, and green. So, Open data does that. Open data helps you in part. I'm not going to say it's the only thing that does that, but that change, that behavioral change, that change in mentality, that change in paranoia levels that we as states generally tend to embrace, shifts. And it actually helps you because you become far more intelligent about what is truly national security, what you really need to protect, so you can protect it well. And then the rest ceases to be a worry because you shouldn't have to worry about it in the first place.
I would just add 2 more points. I think the first one is that we also have our Privacy Protection Act and so on. So we are governed by those acts. At the same time, from a technical perspective, there are ways in which even private data that comes in, it can be the technology that can anomalize it, which means that when it gets into this kind of data sets, and it's being crunched, it does not get crunched. It doesn't get attached to individual names. So it could be like fashion. It could be my fashion details. But when it gets to be anomalized, it talks about women, this age group, this kind of data sets or fitting details. So that's on the first point about data privacy. The second point is. Regarding this is a scope that has got 2 components. The second part is when the data is being approved to be open, then that's what we want to do. MDEC's role is to drive the digital economy. So the open data sets that we want to drive is so that it can unlock the economic value and the social economic value, so that startups can benefit from it, businesses can also benefit from it. Now, the point of what kind of data can be categorized as open, that is more of a government categorization. We still have, Antonio, we still have I think it's 5 categories. It's a pyramid. So we have the bottom levels, it's open, data terbuka, which means that everybody can use. And then we have the next level, I think, which is restricted data. Then it goes up to the top secret and like top secret, right? So the challenge that we're facing right now is to, even if it's categorized as terbuka, which means technically you can put it into, you can publish it, but there is also that cultural mindset that says that, okay, it's terbuka, therefore it should go into open data in this kind of format and with this kind of, consistency and integrity. But even there are some also which is on the higher level restricted. It should not be restricted, but it's been categorized as restricted. So as far as we're concerned, even by unlocking the existing value of data that can be shared, and maybe going to the next level and recategorizing those data into open data, there is already a lot of potential to be unlocked from a social economic benefit perspective. Now beyond that, then I think this is where it is more of a government policy that has to be in play.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, last question for the day. Not for the day, for this session. Yes, Dr. Ho.
A question for Dr. Yasmin and also Antonio. I'm Ho Chai from Citizens Network for Better Malaysia. I like the slide Dr. Yasmin showed on open data drive innovation in the transportation sector in the UK. Now, what transportation data do we have in Malaysia to reduce traffic congestion and traffic flow, especially in cities like KL and Penang? Question for Antonio, what sort of data are needed?
So, you know, the data, when UK first started, it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Antonio, it was basically a simple data, opening of data about bus schedules and their train schedules. It's one category of data, but it's quite big. And from there came about the hundreds of applications. So we are now, SPAT is one of our agencies. I mentioned there are 11 or 14, I think, that has committed to becoming open data champions, and SPAT is one of them. So we are now working with SPAT, and this is where ODI comes into the picture. ODI is actually training the ministries, the people, the open data champions, to how to convert their data into open data and put it into data.gov.my. And then from there, we'll do a hackathon. So that is how we want to, we want to go ahead with this. So we'll work with the ministry and the agency, in this case SPAT, and then from there, we will then encourage our local startup ecosystem and also to learn from whatever the 400 apps that's already done in the UK to actually create the applications for the benefit and bringing in the citizens as well so that they can give inputs as to what is needed. This hackathons and big app challenge is happening, in fact, next month, right? Oh, next week, next 2 weeks. It's happening in next 2 weeks, and we are very hopeful that we will get this. We will get the applications done, and we will publish these applications. We will we'll go out there and say these are the apps that has been published, and this is for what the that has been developed, and this is what the public can now access to.
I'm imagining that. When you were asking, you were saying what kind of data is needed for this. Now, this is the interesting bit about open data. This is the interesting bit about this whole thing, okay? You will need, for example, location of transportation. For example, where are the buses, where are the trains, and things like that. Now, about 2 months ago, I went to another country to do similar things to what I'm doing now. And the conversation went into transport. And they were talking about rural areas, okay, in the villages. How do we provide better transport? How do we do open data in that? Well, we have buses. Yeah, but have you seen the companies? I mean, they don't track anything, you know. They said, well, hang on a minute. What if you put a mobile phone in each one of the buses and track them to GPS? You might be off by a mile, but you'll still know where they are within a mile. And they said, well, yeah, we could do that. So they started doing that, and they began to track, buses within a mile in a couple of villages. The company realized that actually they themselves could tell you the bus is going to be late. So when people came up to buy the ticket, they said, oh, that bus is running late, okay? Instead of having angry customers standing there waiting and managing the flow of people waiting. So a series of things happened. The data wasn't there, but somehow creative ways of obtaining the data were conceived. So a small company was set up who came up with a small little GPS thing that could be put on buses. That was a local company that company is making money. The bosses are being tracked. The data is good quality. The data is being made open. So it's not only what data you need, location, type of transport, capacity of transport, etc., but also the opportunity asking those questions presents. For the solutions are far beyond open data, and it goes into enabling markets, it goes into enabling local businesses, and it goes into thinking differently. That creative thinking process stays with the local authority, stays with the village, stays with the bus company, and they may apply it to something else and something else and something else. The change continues all across.
Right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the end of the first session. Let us give a round of applause to our three distinguished speakers here. With this, I'd like to pass the mic to the yes, MC, please. Thank you.